Good morning, Brendon. How are you, my lovely?
How you doing, Sarah? Lovely to be here. Lovely to speaking to you as ever.
Well, thanks as always for your time. And we are here with Brendon Prince. If you don't know who Brendon is, please look him up. Um, Circumnavigated the UK, first man ever to do that, the Great British Paddle. You have now got another event coming up, which we're very, very excited to be involved in and just to be aware of. So we're going to talk about that. Founder of the Above Water charity, which does some incredible work. And we will again come back to that as well, because that's a very worthy thing that you do. And all round good egg, I think, Brendon.
Lovely. How beautifully put. Thank you.
So we are here to talk about the new event, which is Sup 12, to be held in Torbay, which is your current hometown, beautiful part of the world. And I think that it's been inspired by another event. So let's just park Sup 12 for the moment and let's go back to December 2022 and the event that you took part in, which was a new event, new format, completely off the charts, wacky races kind of event, which was Last Paddler Standing in Florida. Now, you entered that event, you just come off the back of circumnavigating the UK. So you probably thought, well, this would be a no-brainer. Can you tell me what Last Paddler Standing? Talk us through the event format.
Well, just the title itself got my attention. I thought, what's this all about? Um, it's a very simple format. And Greg, who has organised it in Florida, has nailed the format in that it's a 5 kilometer loop, 3.3 miles on a national rowing lake in Florida. Every hour, all you got to do is paddle. And let's face it, that distance in that time is dead easy. For most paddlers, if not all paddlers. But that simplicity is where if you don't think further than that, then it'll chop you off at the knees. So
You're screwed, basically.
yeah, that's it. And there are elements to it that people, which I love, is when you paddle all day long, all night long, you see like the seasons of the weather changing through the course of the year. You see how it changes through the course of the time of the day. Because as we know, paddling conditions are different in the morning to they are in the evening, or actually lots of people don't know that. So it draws highlight to that. And even in a beautiful place like Florida, it's hot, it's humid, it's windy because it's hot. And they've got lots of animals that we don't have over here. And you combine all that together. And also, if I said to most paddlers, paddle 50K, from A to B, it's the interest of doing that. It's the different dynamics of going around those different corners and all the fun. Obviously, paddling in a circle every hour and having to stop every hour is what, for me, is, if someone had said just keep paddling, I would have found it a lot easier than having to stop, having to break, and then get back on the board. So all those elements put together is a fabulous event. And I think with events like this, they're organised by people who love the sport, are there for the right reasons, organise it for the right reasons, and they're the type of people who are participating, of which there are the best paddlers to total beginner paddlers, are there for the right reasons too. So suddenly there's a huge family of people that are all enjoying a day, a moment, 2 days, 48 hours for some, in a fabulous sport.
Yeah. Well, it was absolutely gripping. I mean, if you looked at this race on paper, people paddling around, as you say, in a loop, having to stop on the beach, get off their board, and then on the next hour, off they go again. Slow as anything. They're not diving onto the water like a race start. You'd look at that and you'd go, well, that's not going to be very exciting viewing, is it? How wrong could we be? I think I watched, I mean, it went on for 48 hours. It's definitely worth looking up. And it's actually worth looking up Chris Parker's Sup Racer the last few minutes, or I can't remember how long, but there's a last element of it, and it's worth, if you haven't watched any of it, check into that to see the drama that unfolds. It was gripping. I had to drag myself away from watching yet another hour of people paddling around. And how did it feel for you? Know, that was us watching it, and you said to me earlier that you had friends who weren't into water at all, and they checked in.
Friends who actually weren't perhaps what I would call close friends, just people, acquaintances that I know that don't paddle, they don't go on the water, they just are from Torbay, who were messaging me saying, I can't believe I've just watched 26 hours of people going around in a circle. Because of the way it kind of grips you. You start to get into those people's heads and you think, well, why are they going fast this lap? Or why are they sat back? Or, oh, they're a bit slow to get onto the board there. They're starting to feel a bit tired. Or, you know, all these things start coming in that can be true or total rubbish, but it keeps you interested. And I was amazed by how much interest there was and support, you know, in the middle of the night, getting messages that my team would say, we just had a message from so-and-so and it's 3 a.m. So yeah, amazing.
It was, and it was, we'll just talk about it for a few minutes more and then we'll get on to you. But a couple of the most exciting things were obviously seeing, you know, what we almost perceived to be the top 6. And that's not taking away anything from anybody else, but these were people with that kind of experience, or you thought. Some of them had crossed over from other sports, not been on a paddleboard for long, but, you know, had endurance absolutely under their belt. You had the man who was doing so well, and on one of his breaks right at the end, he fell asleep and he missed the cutoff, you know, and that was high drama as we were watching. And then you had the last lap with the 2 guys.
Yeah.
Almost like a gentleman's agreement, not really, because one of them had to stop and he had to stop, and they had the conversation. He said, I'm bowing out and this is your race. And then the lovely Paolo from Italy had to just complete one more loop and became the last man standing, or the last paddler standing. And it was you know, it could have been.
Well, that's, you know, you hit the nail on the head there. John Kipper, who was second, hadn't have bowed out when he did. That would have forced Pablo to do that super lap, to jump up. You know, that next lap up. Whoa, that's brutal. One, to do it after 48 hours, but also the design of the lap, where all the winds are down the far end of the lake. To have had to have fought against that, then come back and fought against it again, and still do it in the time would have been brutal. And I think the event will only ever be, you know, if 2 paddlers push each other, they won't be able to do more than 3 or 4 of those super laps, because of the way it's designed and, you know, what you've gone through previously, is amazing. So to see that unfold was just it's just magical for the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, for anybody, just please do check it out. Last Paddler Standing, run by the quite amazing person who is Greg Wingo. Do check out him and what he's doing. And Last Paddler Standing is running again next year. And I think, Mr. Prince, you've entered already, haven't you?
I have. Everything I did wrong last year, I'm learning from. And that's the whole point, I think, especially with paddling. And especially that, you know, it does come under that adventure, pushing yourself. And I made big mistakes last year that I won't make next year. So, and again, it's not, I don't think you go to an event like this to win it, but I just want to be able to paddle 48 hours.
Yeah.
I want to be able to do that.
Just remind me how far you got.
I did 19 hours.
Okay.
Which I'm hugely disappointed about. So, and for that reason, I need to go back and fulfill my potential for it. So,
but with the 19 hours, you finished what, 5th? Was it 5th?
I was 8th.
You were 8th. So again, you know, that when you say 19 hours, you go, oh, well, that's, you know, only 19 hours. It's not. It's an amazing achievement. And as you said,
I was beaten by 7 people better than me. And you learn from that, and you learn those conditions. There are things that surprised me. You know, the heat, the humidity, the snakes, the alligators, you know, all those things, you know, are a surprise, the mosquitoes. But it's a fabulous event. And I would say anybody who can spare the time and the money and have the ability to get out there and do it, go for it. And I think there are, you know, well, I know there are twice as many people entered this year already.
Yep, and there are some Brits going as well. So we applaud
There
those Brits.
are.
We'll be following them. Yeah, it's going to be very exciting. Anyway, let's park that and let's get back to your event. So I am guessing that your event has been inspired partly by Last Standing.
Yeah, totally. And I didn't want to copy what Greg has done because I would hope Greg will branch out with that event around the world because I think the world would appreciate it.
Yep.
But what I wanted to do was be a bit cruel, really, in that. So for paddle 12, sup 12, you have to come in at the end of every lap. So you have to get off your board. You have to walk up the beach, run up the beach, however you want to do, go over the mat. So we've got digital proof of you doing your lap. And then, but also at that point, you are 5-10 meters away from your rest station. So there's a huge temptation to think, I'll just go in and, because you're not allowed to eat on the board. That's really, so you have to think about when am I going to eat? Mm-hmm. So you have to think tactically about that. But I know the way it works in that once you've done 3 or 4 laps, every lap, there'll be part of you going, come and have a rest, come and have a rest. Yeah, and that's been built like that to be a real temptation. And thus then play with the mind. 3.5 kilometer loop is really, really kind of small. So, will you do a loop an hour? And for some people, that will be a real mission to achieve a loop an hour. Will you be able to do 2 loops an hour? Then you start to get into some serious paddling distances, 84 kilometers if you paddle 2 laps an hour for 12 hours. But where do you break? Where do you have your stops? And it's about playing with people's mind, but also showing people that when we start at 7 o'clock in the morning, the conditions, I'm 98% certain, will be pan flat. But mid-morning, that'll change and it will get a bit choppy and then it will calm down again, and then it might build up again and then calm down again for the evening. So you'll be able to experience a full day's kind of conditions at the same spot. So throw that all in together, throw in the fact that, over 30 people have entered already and it's only been open a couple of days. So I think there's an appetite for that type of paddling. And in Torbay, we got such simple, easy conditions, and half the event, you could almost have someone walking next to you because it's the way it's along the promenade and along the pier. So there's some great spectator opportunities to support and just encourage and just see what people are going through. Because I know there will be people that are thinking, right, I'm going to absolutely bang 6 hours, have a quick break, and then try and bang 6 hours, so get some real massive distances in, through to people that have said, well, I'm going to try and do 3 or 4 laps, in 12 hours. So there's something for everybody to watch. And the fact that you're going to be doing a live feed for us, I think will really ignite that. And for other people to see and just to join in if they can't be there.
Yeah, that would be great. And we have got some really cracking endurance events in the UK. We've got, the Great Glen, we've got the Paddle Skedaddle, we've got Norfolk Broads Ultra. We've got some really good ones, but this is different, isn't it? So, for those other events, yes, it messes with your mind a little bit. Great Glen starting.
It's just a different type of.
It's a different kind of thing.
Yeah, it really is. It really is, and that's sometimes hard for people to understand. But that. The longevity to keep paddling a huge distance, where you're traveling. It's a very different mindset to just to do loops, and there's a different simple aspect to it, but different type of mental endurance. And I think whenever you're paddling, I find this often, the exciting bits of paddling around headlands and getting on, I'm going to, my next bit is to that point. And once you're there,
yep.
It's those low points that you have to motivate yourself for. And what SUP 12 does is a lot more of those low points, because after 5 or 6 hours, you're going to have to really push yourself to go and do that loop again. Because once you've done it 4 or 5 times, you know it. You've got to do it again and again and again. And if you want to be the champion of SUP 12, you've got to go right to the last. And just to add to that last point then, so let's say there are 3 people who have done 20 laps, let's say, in the 12 hours. When the hooter goes at 7 o'clock, if there are 3 people on a lap and they're all on the same lap, it then turns into a race.
My goodness, again, that's a little bit like last paddle standing, isn't it? That last bit of really pushing themselves at the end of an incredibly tricky day, physically and mentally, to then go, okay, you guys, you've just got to race the last lap now. I mean, that's amazing. That's inspired. I had wondered how it was going to end. That's brilliant. I love it.
So, they've got to be thinking, right, the hooter's going to go. I need to get as far on this next lap as possible. Because if there's, as you say, 3, 4, 2, whoever, it turns into a race. And it'll be the moment that first person board hits the sand that will be the winner. None of this running up the beach malarkey. It's a paddling race. It's not a running race. So you can tell I got a bee in my bonnet about that. So yeah, that's what it's all about. So it'd be great if there were a couple of people on the same lap number on that last lap to just turn it into a race.
That would be fabulous. It would be great. I need to be awake still at that moment in time to cover that. So you've sold 30 tickets in the first couple of days, which doesn't surprise me at all. We'd like you to have a full house, because what is this? Why are you doing this? What is your other reason for doing this? Please tell me about Above Water campaign.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen in the last couple of years of trying to link what I see as the most prominent access for water is with SUP. And the charity Above Water is a water safety and education charity. So it is a common sense link between what we do. And, the charity post-COVID has changed dramatically in that we now do what I call hub training, young leader training. So our next one's in the Wirral, for example, next week, where we've got 50 schools come into a hub. They send 3 or 4 of their young leaders. I'm doing this one. I teach them water safety, drain prevention, 2 hours worth, with all the resources. Then they go back to their school and they are the ones teaching it. So they're the young leaders teaching it. And if they teach it to a class, they get a t-shirt. If they teach it to their school, they get a hoodie. And if some schools are actually going into now other schools to do it. So, we're just trying the fact that there are over 20,000 schools in this country, 9 million kids. We can't get in and speak to them all. But if the kids are doing it, there's an enthused passion that sometimes is hard for adults to kind of put into children. I'm very blessed in that, because of my paddling and world records, it's very easy for me to go into schools and then think, oh, we want to listen to this guy.
Yeah.
So, I abuse that a lot going into schools. So the charity, yeah. So, we try and, all of this is free for schools to do. Schools are brilliant at supporting by their non-uniform days or fundraisers they do for us, but we want to keep this being free for schools. So, if this event makes a couple of thousand for them, then, that's a hub training session somewhere else in the country, all paid for.
Brilliant. I mean, it's just very, very inspiring and humbling to see the work that you do, Brendon, for something that should be really so simple for most kids. We all learned to swim when we were young. We all had local pools. They seem to be disappearing fast. We just need to be aware of that. And as I say, I think what you're doing is incredibly inspiring, and spread that word out. But getting the young leaders to do it as well is also very inspiring, because kids will listen to kids, and they'll have their favorites, and it's just spreading that really, really good word about
well, I mean, that's incredibly kind of you to say, but we are in a world at the minute where it's getting tougher. As you say, swimming pools are shutting, schools have got less time to teach. What is classed as enrichment topics were actually personally, I think they're essential life lessons.
Yeah.
So no fault of schools, no fault of teachers. We're just trying to fill a gap in learning, and especially in areas where, like the Wirral, it's like a little island in the way that you've got the Dee, you've got the Mersey, and then you've got the northwest coast right there. So they don't have that. They don't have, when that particular one I've been trying to sort out for a long time, because the day I was in the Wirral, when I paddled around the UK, I got over the D, and the very next day then on the Wirral, the weather was so bad, and I thought, I'm not paddling today. And I didn't paddle all day. And that very day, that very morning, two kayakers went out into the D and they both lost their lives. So it's trying to teach this, if they'd perhaps had a bit more understanding, knowledge of, perhaps they wouldn't have gone out, decided to go out that day. And it's all about sharing that message through SUP, but also with the charity. Just trying to make that difference, because you never know, and that's the thing, you can't quantify the child that makes the right decision rather than the wrong decision, and doesn't need to be rescued or drowned. It just means that they go out on a happy day for the day.
Yeah, and we all love
so yeah
we all know how good the water is for us, and we all love it, but we all need to stay safe. Now, your event, how can people get involved? Where should they look for your where can they find you to get involved and get
so yeah, we're obviously putting it out on all the social channels. So the Long Paddle, my own channel, but all the charity channel. So www.abovewater.org. So you can sign up there. So you can enter there. So please, if you're thinking about it, or just, if you want to send me questions, because lots of people have questions about an event like this. So, and I'm putting out videos. I'll be putting out quite a few videos in the next couple of days to week to really answer people's questions, because they do have so many questions I found out in the last 48 hours. But that's all brilliant. So they can sign up for that, but also we will need and would like volunteers. The more volunteers that we have there, the better. It runs smoother for that. So if you're in the area or want to just come and watch and perhaps be a volunteer, and we'll give you entry to next year off the back of volunteering. So just come and support, come and see, and nudge the person that you think, they'd love that, but maybe a bit nervous to kind of sign up, because it is a race. It is a race, and people find that nerve-wracking, as you know. If you're not a racer person, it is nerve-wracking to do something like this. And we can tell them all day long that after that first lap, it'll all just feel normal and fine. But they have to, put their neck on the line and think, right, oh yes, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And the more people saying, come on, do it, the better.
Yeah. As my very good friend Sarah Perkins said about racing, your first race, treat it as just an adventure paddle with great safety cover, and just get stuck in. And I just thought that's a really good way to look at it. That's what she did. She just went out with her sister. They had an absolute ball. They knew they were looked after. They just went, and maybe treat it as a a faster excursion around the beautiful Bay of Torbay. It is such a stunning part of the countryside. We were very lucky to paddle in with you at the end of your circumnavigation. It is truly beautiful down there. So please, everybody, support this. All profits go to your charity Above Water. That is where you will look for your tickets. You'll check out Brendon Prince, the Long Paddle. Love your hoodie. Where can people buy those? Hat, hoodie, t-shirts.
So shorties Supwear that we all know. If you look on the website, we've got a load of stuff coming out for SUP 12 and all our general stuff. And again, all the profits for that. I'm wearing the Last Paddler Standing hoodie that we've sorted out with the charity logo on. So there's loads of stuff on there that, if you want SUP specific clothing, have a look, check it out. And as I say, profits go to the charity. So it's a win-win.
Yep. And he's a good man. He's a very good man. So yes, everybody, the last word is get involved.
Well, God bless you for your support, Sarah. Really love it.
Oh, pleasure. I can't wait. It's gonna be a challenge for me. I shall take some tips from Chris and Thomas and Chris Parker, who were commentating on the Last Paddler Standing. So we can't wait to get involved and talk to all those amazing people who are going to get involved. And I hope your tickets sell out. I think it will sell out, because I think it's a very, very unique event.
Just to say on that, we're limiting it to the 80, 100 mark, just to keep it sensible. So getting quick.
Yeah, getting quick. Brendon, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you on April the 1st, April Fool's Day.
I know. Don't be fooled. It is properly happening, and we're not pretending.
Okay. Thank you so much, Brendon, and good
luck.
luck.
God bless. Take care.
Right. Take care.